Hei, og velkommen til Hvorfor Norge, en podcast for deg som er interessert i norsk kulturen, og en podcast for deg som er interessert i å høre hva andre syns om norsk kulturen. I dag sitter jeg med en fantastisk gjest, Larissa Slottet. Hei, Larissa.
Hi.
We will turn into English. It's so nice to see you here in the studio. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for the invite. It was a big pleasure being here today.
The story behind your invitation is that one of my former colleague actually recommended me to take contact with you, and when I saw your profile I was so impressed.
Aww.
So I would like to hear a bit more about your story. You grew up in Brazil?
Yes, I did.
Where about in Brazil?
In Brasilia.
In Brasilia.
Yes, this is the capital of the country.
Exactly.
Some people think that is Rio, but it's actually Brasilia.
It's a Brasilia. And then you studied in the US?
Yes, I did study several places actually, but my studies started in Brazil. I studied business there and did a master in international relations. And when I came to Norway, I ended up studying sustainability at BI, and now I just finished a course on MIT on neuroscience for business. So it's like a mix of experience and studies.
Very interesting. How was it to study in Brazil versus Norway versus the US? Did you see in terms of pedagogy or approach to difficult questions, typical cultural differences in how to approach methodology?
Well, I think that it would be like very much coming to the timing as well, because I studied in Brazil in 2000, right? So this was like so different back then. We barely sent email to each other. We still making copies of books, and so very different. When I studied business, I think that more the timing. In Brazil is a huge country. We look very much into our own reality, and maybe, South America and US is more like the common things that we compare our economy with. While, studying in Norway, when I studied BI, I felt that was pretty much closed in Norway and Scandinavian. We don't look very much abroad, although the course was international. I felt that was very much concentrated in what's going on in Scandinavian. And US, this last course that I did was much more global, taking to, perspective of several realities and markets and so on and so forth. And I think that this could be the difference. I think that, MIT is more global oriented, while, Brazil and Norway is more focusing their own realities.
Interesting. But it still gives you a mental flexibility while studying abroad that you acquire when you just learn in another language and approach something in a different way. I think it's very enriching.
Yeah, absolutely.
What made you come to Norway? That's the name of the podcast. Hvorfor Norge?
Hvorfor Norge? Gudsspørsmål. Well, I actually didn't know this answer, but now I know very well. Looking back, so I used to write my story, and now I have a journaling for my whole entire life. And looking back in one of my journals, I saw me request to the universe that I wish to live in a country with a perfect system and no corruption. I am sure that this was the reason that brought me to Norway. Just a succession of coincidences, I end up here, and today I understand that this is my soul, kind of trying to find a place that I would feel more peace in terms of, I was very frustrated with the Brazilian reality when I start to travel the world. And just a big coincidence, but I end up here because I want to live in a country with a perfect system and no corruption. What is the better country in the world than Norway for that, right? So it was just a law of attraction, I believe.
Wow, a very interesting answer. And did it deliver up to your expectations? You've been there for many years now, 15?
Yes.
So you know the deal. It's not like you just arrived yesterday, right? You know the deal?
I know. In terms of a perfect system and no corruption, yes, 100%. I know there are a few things that happens here, but since I have my Brazilian perspective, for me it's nothing. I trust the system a lot, and one of the best sensations that I have living in these countries is going to vote in elections according to my philosophy and what I believe that is best for the country, but with a peace in my spirit that no matter what is going to be okay. It's exactly the opposite that I had in my country, you know what I mean? There I go vote and I have my philosophies and stuff, but I know that independent of who wins is not going to be very good, he's just so easy to, convey and exist in terms of being part of the system. I trust it 100%, and I'm very happy very happy to be Norwegian in that terms.
It seems that we tend to forget when you were born in a country with such a level of freedom and trusts in the authorities, that we tend to forget how privileged we are. And it's very nice to have that kind of voice and that you just said as a friendly reminder of, yes, the winter is long and yes, snow is annoying on the roads, but hey, we have freedoms and a democracy which is still well functioning. And it was also this kind of parliamentarism which doesn't make, in France, it's also like you can flip around the coins. It's dangerous in my opinion. Whereas what you just described is very, I think, relatable for many of us foreigners.
Yeah.
And so, but you have a Norwegian name.
I do. Yes, I got married with a Norwegian.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is not the reason that I came into the country. Actually, I was attracted by a Norwegian too. And the fact that I was single when I came and there is so many, blue eyes, tall men in this country made it very kind of like, well, together with the perfect system, no corruption, why not? But yeah, it came after a while. I was like very much looking forward to get to know a Norwegian man. I think that also like the fact that the men here are educated by feminist women, it made me very attracted by, like this. So I got married in the second year that I was here, and I still married with the same guy.
Oh, so that's a happy story.
Yeah. I can't complain. I think that it works.
So now you are Larissa Slottet, and it sounds perfectly Norwegian on the paper.
Mm-hmm.
You said just before we started the recording, how can you survive without a Norwegian name in this country? What was behind this comment?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that this is like, and then we go to the bad side of the coin, I believe. I think that, it's not very easy to become a part of, to belong, and to, be considered a part of Norway. And I think that the name is like the first step. If like you come to Norway and don't have the Norwegian name, you may not be invited to interviews, you may not find a job, you may not be taken seriously, people may not trust you. So yeah, I was very, very happy when I could like use my husband names, and actually it's quite exclusive name. It's just a farm inside Kristiansand somewhere. So it's like it's not a lot of people. Yes, thank you. I think like I'm making a good use of the name, and I'm very grateful that I could like add this into my profile, and it was important.
I understand, but what's impressive with you is that you say so, but at the same time, your professional track records in Norway is flawless. You managed to work for a different organization. You've worked for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for many years as a cross-cultural communication consultant. What did you do then? What was your job there?
In UD? So like they have a department for training the diplomats that are going abroad. And I was part of this department, so training them to go to countries that speak Portuguese, including Brazil, Portugal, Angola, and Mozambique.
Yeah.
So we are doing cultural training and also language training. Very, very nice. Was good times I had at UD. But if I didn't have Slottet as my name, I could change it for resilience. It looks very seamless, my career in Norway, but was nothing.
Tell us the truth behind the
truth
scene.
is that it's hard, very hard to get in place, and this is like one of the reasons that we end up like kind of getting one specialization more, getting one more master, getting one more qualification, and in the end you end up like being classified as like, I don't know, overqualified. I did get good jobs, and I'm very lucky that I could build a substantial career. But for each yes that I got at least 150 no's, and this also made me feel very sick at some point and sad. And like is the lack of belonging that I need to build in another way, in an intrinsic way, because like there was signs everywhere that I'm not part of the game, So yeah, it was not easy, not at all. But
and the network is something a lot of foreigners in this podcast and outside the podcast point as a difficult thing to build, both because of cultural barriers, but also the fact that it's a small society where some friendships and some networks are being built from day one in childhood. And then if you come here as an adult, which I did too, you are an outsider.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely relate that it's hard, even though I'm also married with a Norwegian and I also have now a Norwegian last name. It's still, I think, a challenge. Yeah. It is. But so you went to MIT to feel your qualifications in order to be more attractive on the Norwegian job market?
Well, I don't know if this is 100% true because now I'm working for myself. But I felt that this qualification would give me more possibilities of working what I want to work now. And I like to learn new things. And this is a very new science that I was very curious about. And I got fascinated by the professor. I read like 2 or 3 books, and then that was like in my plans to fulfill. So it's not to get a job, but it's just for working this on the work that I'm doing, like using
That's
this.
very
the work
nice.
that I'm
And
doing.
also, it surely also open new windows or new perspectives you didn't have from before. And
Totally, yeah. It's always good to keep recycling learning, especially in times of VUCA transformation that we are living now.
Yeah. But so now you work for yourself, you said. Can you tell us what you do now?
Yes, so I have a small company called Culturas. We have been working with cross-cultural knowledge and for several years, and I was working basically as a consultant. During these times, I was also working for the Brazilian Norwegian Chamber of Commerce, so I have a lot of experience in, like building commercial relations between those 2 countries. But I like automatically after studying at BI, studying sustainability, my part of sustainability that really like touched my heart is the social sustainability, dealing with people. So I have always asking myself, what can I bring from Brazil to Norway? Like what can be my mission in this country? What can I add in this context here? And was like in the beginning, I thought okay, it's going to be the Portuguese language or the Brazilian culture for the people that is going to Brazil or like so on and so forth. But at some point, I just understood that it's not that. It's the connection that people have in Brazil so seamless, so easily. And, like the way that we care about each other and that we connect. This is what Norway needs from me. And this is what I'm bringing now through self-development. And like this industry of self-development is really booming in Brazil. I saw like the opportunity, and I ended up becoming like an ambassador for the inner development goals. That is a movement that is born in Sweden, but is very new here in Norway. So this is what we are doing now. We are using the inner development goals as framework, like a framework as a menu, and going to the organizations, identifying the inner skills that is most needed for organizations to achieve their goals. And then we are enabling the, embracing of these skills in the employees.
Wow. Okay. So, and when you say organization, can it be private actors or public actors?
It's private so far. Private international organizations. Those are my focus. Yeah.
And when you say organization, it's not companies, right? It's like
companies.
Oh, companies
so
too.
I'm
Okay,
working
so
with several companies now, like Statkraft.
yeah, exactly.
Instance,
Like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
So what? Okay, that's very interesting because I think that this what Norwegian call mangfold og inkludering, or what some companies call also diversity, equity, inclusion, is part of it. I guess it's just a part of what you just said.
Yeah.
But what do you have like for people that listen to us? Examples of what companies that do it well do to make people connect in a seamless way?
Yeah. So what happens here is that, like we as society, we have a lot of biases and, limiting beliefs. And this sometimes is a wall between us, the people that is here, and the people that is coming from outside. And a lot of times international employees, when they come to the Norwegian market, they feel like an outsider, and then they start to feel like, okay, I don't belong, I don't have a value in the society. They start to get depressed and sick, and this is like very, very bad to organizations. So some of organizations is like understanding this needing of, putting everybody in the same, like kind of understanding of the importance of diversity. So like being living in Norway for 15 years and working with like being advocating for inclusion and diversity here, I saw a lot of different scenarios. When I came in, there was no different people at all. You came into the companies, you saw everybody was very homogeneous and you didn't see the difference. Some point they start to open up and, more and more people come into the places, but it's requested from us as different people that when we come to this place, we become one of us. So, take your brunost and your brødskive and ikke snakke med hverandre and be a little bit more reserved. Don't move your hands. How many times I heard it was like, don't move your hands so much.
I'm moving my body all the time. Otherwise, I feel that I can't speak.
And I think that for the first time, I feel that now we are having the knowledge or the awareness that, like, if we try to transform other people into one of us, then they miss their value because they end up sick and depressed and they don't operate well. So, like, let these people bring what they have to bring. So for the first time, I feel that, like, my diversity is taken seriously. And somehow I was very much incisive in like inside myself, even if in my worst days, you know, like deep on my depressions or like when I had my burnout, I remember that inside myself something was telling me, stick on who you are, keep moving your hands, don't care. So I learned codes to operate as I am in the Norwegian society.
Okay.
And obviously sometimes I'm misunderstanding. You know, people kind of misunderstand me and stuff, and I let it go, but I very much sticked on who I am. So I'm, you know, I give hugs, but I announce before, I'm giving you a hug, and then people open up because so many times I try to jump on people and they got scared and stuff. So we end up like kind of understanding like how to be who you are in this environment. But I think that, this was my goal since the beginning, and I felt that, like, you know, this is what I have to give for the society now.
And I think it's very interesting because some people misunderstand, I guess, the job of cross-cultural communication while becoming a chameleon, where we change all of you to fit the new work environment. And I see you do that with your head. And I completely agree with this. I guess it's more about being perhaps, I don't know, a tiger, or having like big eyes and big ears and listen, and also be careful and silent at the beginning, and then find your spot, find your place, but still stay who you are. What do you bring to the table? That is the value of diversity.
Exactly.
But yeah, I completely relate. I remember my first workplace, I took French lunch as what Norwegian called matpakke. And there was so much comments on what I had inside. And it made me terrified at the end. So at some point, I ended up eating also bread and brown cheese. Just to stop being the center of attention at the table because, what does she has in this box? And I don't think it was badly intended, not at all, but it was just like wrong attention to get.
Exactly. And in the beginning, we are also misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Because I wish, like, in my first job, someone could come to me and tell, like, okay, this is nothing personal against you. Because my feeling was, these people don't like me.
Yeah, me.
These people avoid me. Yeah. Like, and this, like, makes us so sad inside. Yeah. It's super difficult to keep motivated and creative and being a good employee if you are having these feelings, like, on daily basis. Yeah. And nobody could have, like, you know, the sensibility to explain to me that this is nothing personal against you. This is just how they operate. So everything was like taking personally. And I think that this is why in the beginning it's so difficult for us to operate. And we end up like just adapting, you know, like just being the same.
Which is nice. I think adapting is a nice word because it doesn't change, it doesn't mean become somebody different. But in a way, adaptation needs to go both ways, right?
Yeah. No, but I think that I became a different person.
You did?
Yeah, I did. Definitely. I really stopped moving my hands. I changed the way that I was speaking. I was trying to operate exactly like others was operating. But then I got sick. I just met a wall. Poof! Like my system doesn't operate. Me being another being. I don't know how to just, you know. So I need to go through deep self-development myself to, first of all, remember who I was. And then trying to build and bring little by little of myself, but also building this, you know, awareness around me. Like, so this is like the things that I explain, like the tools that I use to like, oh yeah, you know, now I'm going to give you a hug. So I can go and hug before, you know, I make people scary. So it was like kind of a process, and I'm like a life coach myself too.
Yeah.
I have been working a lot with internationals in the same situation than I.
You were anticipating my questions. Perfect transition. Yeah.
Good. And I see so many others that is exactly the same. In the beginning, we lost ourselves. We try to operate the same so we can just tilpasse or belong or like be part of this. And then we start to get, you know, sick and nervous and, you know, anxious and depressed and maybe burnout. And then after this process, we need to rebuild who we really are and then come back to operation in another way. And this is like the richness, I think, that we need to bring in. You know, today this is very clear for me that we should be more open to others be exactly who they are. And obviously we need to follow the rules and like the laws, but it doesn't mean that I need to change my personality just to
So when you had Statcraft, for example, or just as a random company, what would you do with whom inside of the company to help this integration? Do you coach leaders or do you coach employee from abroad or both?
Yeah, well, now it's a little bit different. I'm focusing on increasing collaboration. So are you familiar with the IDGs? Not really, no?
I've been working a bit with it because I
Yeah.
have, as I mentioned to you before the recording starts, a kind of a business background. So yeah.
But maybe like your community haven't heard about. So the IDGs, Inner Development Goals, is a new framework just launched by UN. It's like launched by Charity Foundation in Sweden, but was embraced by UN. So if I can just summarize, the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 SDGs, they are what we have to achieve in terms of sustainability, and the IDGs would be the how we are going to get in there. So it's basically like expecting that every sector of the society and every individual is going to start to looking inwards and grow these inner skills inside themselves. So we are going to this is going to enable us to be more, active in terms of sustainability. And this is divided in 5 dimensions of inner skills. That is like being, thinking, relating, collaborating, and acting. So this is like how we start a process. I go to a team leader that wanna improve one of those dimensions in their team, and then we develop like the training of those inner skills through micro learnings. And then we have like a workshop where we experiment different activities where, for instance, like if we are looking to collaboration, we are going to give tools for better collaboration. But it's basically like bring people back to their senses and, like making people understand that we are too much operating in the active part of the brain, like, managing part of the brain, and we need to come back to relaxing sometimes, because if you don't have a balance between these two parts of your brain, you basically like operating with a lot of stress and cortisol in your body. And so we bring a lot of the 5th element of the balance of keeping a good performance is silence. So the first one is basically common sense, is like hydration, nutrition, oxygenation through physical activity, a good sleep, 6 hours uninterrupted every day. And these all people kind of know and try to keep in control. But the 5th term is the silence, mindfulness, meditation. So this is a lot of what is coming to this, but they experiment this together with other factors as well. Like developing inwards is very fun. It's a lot of fun things that like you can bring to these activities, and this is just like the start point. It's like basically putting a seed on the soil, so
Exactly,
people get
yeah.
very touched, and like they kind of shift a little bit their mindset, and then they keep growing through different ways.
And how long does the journey take for an organization to be at the starting point before they can see like tangible results?
So what I'm describing to you, the micro learnings plus the workshop, is a product that we have called Neuroconnection, and this is more or less a 6-month partnership.
Well, that's
from
not
5 to
too
6
long.
months. Yeah.
It's nice.
Yes.
6 months is very relatable. It's nice.
Yeah, but we also have like very small, like there is a product that we have called Reset that can be like just 3 hours in a team building, for example. We can just come, throw the seeds on the soil, make people feel a little bit better by connecting to each other and leave. So it's different, depends of like, but the one that really brings effect is the one that we put a little bit more time and effort to it. It takes time to grow, and obviously, and we can always like just put the seeds as well in the soil and leave, just to make them like this wake-up call. But we can also have this longer partnership.
That's very nice. And when you say we, how many are you working at Culturas?
We are several people. And I'm very proud of it. I put a like, like when I decide to change the business model, the first thing that I did was like going my network and asking some people that I admire a lot and that have good positions in the business world to become my advisors, my board. So I have a board with 5 advisors and my partner. And they are all working on pro bono, but they are very involved with the mission. So we can count on them. And then there is me and 2 other people working the operations.
Oh, that's very clever to put your
Yeah.
own network in your board.
I know, and it's another thing that I can leave it as a tip. You know,
Oh my God, I'm going to write this down right
I know.
now.
That's you see, like in Norwegian society, we are not very used to help each other. Not at least not in the terms of the Brazilian society, what is very understandable. In Brazil, we cannot count on the government, so we count on each other, and it's very normal. Like in Brazil, for instance, if I'm introduced to someone, you know, in my network, they receive me telling like, "Hi, how can I help you?" This is like, you know, the approach. So it's very easy to help each other. And here is more discreet. We don't depend of each other. We can
Oh yeah, like
rely
what
on the
Norwegian called
government.
selvstendighet is
Yes.
extremely high on the agenda.
Exactly.
And for me, it has good values, but also a very, it makes it very alone if you're alone.
Yeah. But then when you learn that you can just ask, and when you ask for help, people is very willing to help. So I have discovered that very early in my life, thanks God. So I have like a lot of support, and I can't complain. I have so many friends, Norwegian friends, that has helped me. And now in my board, again, that is, you know, like not only Norwegians, I put a diverse board, but there is some, you know, like high-level Norwegians helping me there too. So I'm very happy that I could get them on board.
Yeah. Well, that's very inspiring. I will note that down right away. Regarding what you also now as a private person, so your family is both Norwegian and Brazilian. You have children?
I have 2 girls.
Two
yes.
girls. Do they feel Brazilian or do they feel Norwegian or do they feel both? What do you think?
I think that they feel both. It's very clear that my girls is a very funny family. So my husband is naturally very blonde, blue eyes, and we have one girl, like the first one, with my looks, but a Norwegian soul, clearly to see. And then the second one is super blonde, blue eyes. Difficult to believe that she came from me. But she has a Brazilian soul. She's like a personality, is like drama queen from the beginning to the end. We have been traveled to Brazil every year. We also receive like family, and then I have a Brazilian community here too.
Oh,
So
how is Brazilian
and they
community?
speak Portuguese. It's huge, and it's,
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, like so the Brazilian community really increased in Norway with when Lula was in the government for the second time, I believe. There was like an agreement for the oil industry, so they began to bring a lot of engineers. This was like the peaking of the community. And then there is like several companies, Yara, Statkraft, and, you know, like Aker and Equinor, they keep bringing Brazilians, and, you know, like the Brazilians invite other Brazilians. So the community is quite big. It's basically like one person that comes with a job, and then the partner that comes and struggles a little bit to put themselves in the market. And
This is a recurring comment in this podcast, how hard it is to be the plus one and to crack the code of this very locked society. Plus, if you know that you're not going to stay forever, it's even harder.
Yeah.
But is there any place in Oslo where Brazilians live or stay?
No.
They are a bit everywhere?
No. You know, like the Brazilian embassy has absolutely no control, no idea of the number of Brazilians that are here. That is very Brazilian way. We are like basically like the gangs of the companies. So that is like these people that work on Yara, and then the people that works on Equinor, and then like, you know, once in a while we try to organize events and stuff, but there is no rules and no. And there is like a Brazilian bar and a Brazilian restaurant. And you know,
yeah, tell me, where are they? The Brazilian restaurant is Brasilia?
There is a new Brazilian bar called Ipanema.
That sounds very Brazilian.
Very Brazilian, and it's just downtown, very close to the central station, and it's like really picking. It's really nice. A lot of Brazilians are going there.
Oh, cool. And because I've been at the Churrascaria, which is called Brasilia.
Yeah,
exactly. At Rådhuset.
This is the restaurant.
All the waiters were not Brazilian though, but it was a very nice experience.
Yeah? Did you like it? Good.
I've been in Brazil once because one of my friends actually married a Brazilian girl, and the churrascaria in Brazil is hard to top. So I'm not sure if I can tell you, looking you in the eyes, that the churrascaria in Oslo
is the same level.
No, but it was still a very nice experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so you speak both languages at home?
Yes.
Does Herr Slottet speaks Brazilian?
My kids speak Portuguese, not my husband.
Your husband?
No, he's like more kind of a fixed mindset guy.
You speak English together?
We speak English, Norwegian.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I speak Norwegian too. I feel more comfortable speaking English. I have been in a few bullying situations. Unfortunately, this blocks me a little bit with my Norwegian, but I'm fluent in Norwegian too. So
Yeah. I mean,
home with the
with
girls,
all
we
of these
speak
years.
Norwegian, and then if it's just me and the girls, we speak Portuguese.
That's nice. Okay, cool. And is there any typical Brazilian traditions, songs, food types that you would serve under your? If I open the door of your house, am I in Norway or am I in Brazil or am I in actually a strange mix of both?
Yes,
And
kind
then,
of like in this middle way there. But we do speak. We do eat Brazilian food.
and
Because
at what time do you have dinner?
5
So Norwegian style.
Norwegian style. Very
Okay.
Norwegian style. I
Oh,
think
but
that
how
the
old are
lifestyle is
your
pretty much Norwegian,
Yeah,
and
okay.
then I bring like a little bit of the
Brazilian.
musicality and like the social life of the Brazilians.
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah.
How old are your girls?
10 and 13.
Oh yeah, okay. So they are grown up enough to enjoy all of these cultural differences and
Yes.
and appreciate it.
Yes, and there was like phases. I remember when I, for the first time, noticed that maybe my kid doesn't want to stand out. So she asked me, like in Barnehagen, the first kid, like, I can't do it because naquele português que minha mãe e Barnehagen. Or she was like a little bit ashamed, and I was like, okay, this is like, why would be ashamed? But now they are super proud. I think that. In general, like Brazil is a country that Norwegians look with very good eyes.
Yes,
and
that's
they
true.
kind of understood that they could like bring a little bit of popularity by being half Brazilian. So they really assumed the place. They are both like football players.
Oh,
and,
that's cool.
Yeah, so they like to be half Brazilians. But obviously, like when they come to Brazil, then they are Norwegians. Obviously, there's no point for them to try to be Brazilian in Brazil. It's different, and it's the same with me. Like. I'm a mother, I'm a Norwegian mother. I'm not a Brazilian mother. I didn't have kids in Brazil. I had my kids both here. They grow up here. They go to education here, education system. I don't know how to be a mom in Brazil, it's the same, I think, for them.
It's very relatable. I even wrote a book myself called Where Babies Sleep Outside because I was amazed about this tradition. But it's more about my experience, my French eyes on the way Norwegian raised children, which I love. My children are smaller than yours. The oldest is 7 and I have 2 others. But I really liked the years at the barnehage. It was for me very impressive of how they raise children and what kind of social values do they bring to them, and all this time outdoor. Whereas school starts at 3 years old in France. So children are expected to sit at the table, use the toilets at 3 years old. Norwegian kids have so much more freedom, but in a way learn so many different things that they will use as an adult. And for me, it was also a little bit of what Norwegians call aha-opplevelse, because what they tell children on how to behave or how to react in this situation, for me was also, that explains why they would behave like this in companies or at the working culture when adults, regarding conflict or regarding respect to each other and so on.
Yeah,
So
and contact with nature as well. I think it's
contact to nature, for sure. So that's interesting.
But obviously it doesn't make like us less experienced, like when dressing the babies, for example. I remember like I had all kinds of like misunderstandings, and it was confusing, but
it's very hard. My first kids, I was lost, but then I got 3, so the third time I was the one like teaching new French arrived people. It's first the hull and then the fleece and then
all the 3 layers.
Yeah, exactly. So you have both cultures at home. You said that. Is there any traditions or celebrations you celebrate from Brazil?
Well,
here in Oslo?
It's a lot of fights, at least for my right of celebrating things in a different way. Christmas is one of them.
Okay, tell me. You don't like ribbe?
I don't like ribba. I don't like the consumism. I don't like the number of gifts. I don't like the tree inside the house. I don't like basically nothing. And I'm quite traumatized with Norwegian Christmas. So I'm fighting for my right to introduce Christmas as it makes sense for me to my kids. But obviously they love this all, like they want to have like the Norwegian model because this is what was introduced to them in the first years. But still, I will keep, like finding my space.
How do you celebrate Christmas in Brazil? Tell me what you would have done.
I don't appreciate the Christmas in Brazil either. So like this is quite... I'm from sustainability. I'm looking to the world with other eyes. I think that in Christmas we should be looking the eyes, connecting, embracing each other's challenge, supporting each other, and also dreaming together for the new year. And like having this kind of dynamics, not really like opening gifts and going stressful, buying things. And Brazil is pretty much the same than Norway. Like we have bigger parties though. It's a little bit more different from year to year because we invite other peoples. It's not only the center core, and we make different foods, and like it's a little bit more, yeah. But it's a lot about consumism as well, and I think that I would disrupt in Brazil too if I had the chance. And here I feel a little bit harder because it's hard to not do the same than last year. Like Norwegians are very obsessed with the traditions, and they get confused because for me tradition's not repetition, but for them tradition is repetition. So
Same procedure as last year. Have you seen this movie?
No.
Haven't you?
No.
Gilvi, no hoofdmister.
No.
I mean, if you watch it, you're gonna be dead inside. It's very strange. They hired English. My friend told me so. So they hired English actors from a German production to play a very bad humoristic movie for Norwegian market that they watched every year at the same day at the same time, exactly the same. And the movie is the same joke 10 times.
Oh my God.
And that's repeat. For me, it's very strange too.
Very. Yeah. It's like, it's what I argument with my husband and their family. Like that we live the Christmas in the same way that his father left when he was a kid. And
where is he from in Norway?
He's from inside Kristiansand, a place called Finland.
Yeah.
It's a very small place. A lot of sympathetic people, but like this reality that is like a few houses, one church, one petrol station. And, like we need to kind of keep remembering that we are living 2025. World today is different. Why should I make the same Christmas that your father made when he was a kid? It makes absolutely no sense. We need to keep evolving, and this repetition is like the part of the things that I don't really appreciate very much.
I understand.
Being here. So
we have a lot of foreigners that listen to us that have learned Norwegian or are trying to learn Norwegian. You've been there for many years. You still have your perspective, and you've been through a personal and professional journey that help us to put into perspective what should I change, what should I not change, which I really appreciate. Do you have any advice for people out there that search for a job, for example, that you could actually share with us or share with them to make them still motivated and committed to their job search and not giving up?
Yes. Well, first of all, build your resilience. And remember that like having no is just like, I look into all the no's that I receive as little bricks to my castle, and I put them all together and I'm keeping building my castle. You are going to be blocked from so many opportunities just because you are not Norwegian. But, like I think that also understand what is your differential, what are you bringing to the table that a Norwegian could not bring. This is what I did from the very beginning. I asked, okay, I'm from Brazil, I'm not going to be competing with Norwegian from same. So what can I do that Norwegians cannot? So I was like looking for jobs that needs a Portuguese speaking or like that need a little bit more understanding of my country. So I end up like in the cross-cultural industry, and at the time I was the only one basically like doing that. It was very innovative, but understand your differential and also understand like having a good argument to explain how important it is to have this overview from other place, and for sure learning Norwegian. This is like demanding. I like to speak in English. I feel more comfortable speaking English, but I don't ask anyone to change their language to speak to me. They can speak to me in any kind of dialect in Norwegian or even Danish, like Swedish. Today I understand everything very well, and I think that when you give this freedom for the people working to you, it makes it a little bit easier to...
For sure.
Yeah.
And if I flip it around, do you have any advice for companies? The thing is, to put it this way, there is on one hand a lot of companies that are really deeply, sincerely willing to work with diversity and willing to take more bold choice when they hire people. But on the same time, there is this terrible, for example, research that have been done from two researchers recently. It was an article on NRK before Christmas regarding the fact that the discrimination based on the name at the top of a CV is enormous in Norway. And unfortunately, the patterns were even more distinct the more exotic your name sounds in a Norwegian mind. So, knowing these two facts, is there anything you can tell to people that are really willing to do something and to move their company into the right direction and are listening to us based on all your experience, both from the cross-role communication, but also your personal development company, what would you say to them?
I would say, first of all, operate in a curious mindset. You are going to get in contact with someone that for sure is not so good in Norwegian as you are, and is not so good in Norwegian politics as you are, but they are bringing something that you don't know into the table. And you need to choose the best, no matter what, for your business and for your company. And sometimes someone that is different than the homogeneous group will push you to, outside of your comfort zone, but like be curious and don't feel that this is necessarily bad, because I kind of have a lot of empathy for Norwegians. We are used to do things in the same way, repeating, understanding each other without speaking very much. And then when someone very different coming around, it messes up a little bit the system. But it's necessary. The world is mixing, like Oslo, for instance, has 40% of internationals living in the city.
I know, it's crazy. Within 3 years, half of them. Why? Because they don't thrive. Why don't they thrive? Because they struggle either to find work or to find a network and to find friends.
To find belonging.
Exactly. Back to your keywords.
This is an essential need of human beings. We need to be open to each other. And like it or not, the society where we live is everybody that we see with our eyes. Everybody that is living here, paying tax here, is part of it. So move on, like it or not. This is the reality. We need to kind of represent in our companies what the society is, In the end of the day, they are customers as well. So it's the same with,
no, it's true. Exactly what is expected from the market,
exactly.
actually.
It's the same with gender, but it's not only a problem in Norway. We struggle with diversity everywhere in the world.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for sure. France is not a best example either. So what do you think are the typical mistakes companies do when recruiting multicultural? They don't manage to give them this belonging feeling you mentioned?
Well, I can talk based on my experience and also like other people that I have coached and I have been close. I think that the first of all is we expect people to be just like us. And then when people act a little bit different, instead of we have this curious mindset and try to understand why, we kind of judge them and put them inside little boxes, So several times there is misunderstandings, not because of the actions of these people, but because of we are not programmed to be open-minded and curious about these people. Then when we try to expect that these people behave just like us, we are asking them to stop being who they are. And this is going to, for sure, bring a decrease in their operations. They are going to stop being creative. They are going to stop being, who they are. The motivation is going to drop down. And this is where the problems start. So there are several tools that, you can do to make people feel welcome, but also justify that, okay, this is just, the way that we act, but we don't expect you to be on this and that time. And so it's basically training. We need to be, especially for leaders, we need to understand that we need more capacity to dealing with the differences, and not only different people, but also different times. Everything is changing so much. So we need to keep our mind very open and mindset curious.
Very, very nice. And I think it's very nice to remember that there is also, as you just said, easy tools.
Yeah,
to make people feel welcome and to feel good, exactly as they are right now, and shine as a star. I've prepared for you what I call in Norwegian femkjappe. It's 5 quick questions regarding how Norwegian or Brazilian you are. Just don't think too much. Just would you rather go bathing in Ipanema or bathing in Bygdøy?
Ipanema, for sure. I'm sorry about this.
What is your favorite Norwegian celebration?
Favorite Norwegian celebration? Okay. Summer? I'm not sure, to be honest. I
can take another one, don't worry. So, Ipanema. Okay. Would you rather drink caipirinha or fernet?
Caipirinha. I'm very Brazilian.
I've of course oriented the quiz. I was laughing alone when I prepared the quiz. I was like, this is so easy. Everybody. As you said, Norwegians love Brazil, so I think they would answer like this too. Would you rather attend a dugnad or a fagforeningmøte?
A dugnad. I enjoy dugnad.
You do?
Yeah.
That sounds very Norwegian to me, Larissa.
I know, but this is like, I love contacting and interaction, you know, like if you give me reasons, I can just be cleaning outside, but if I'm connecting with, you know, my neighbors, or we used to do a little bit party and pizza party after dugnad, I think that is fun.
It makes belonging, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally. It's community, right?
Yeah.
Like obviously, not in excessive way. I don't want to be cleaning the whole entire Barnehagen before the summer.
No,
but
for
like,
sure. But still,
yeah,
it's a
little
good
bit,
excuse to
I
talk to
think
people.
I like this building together kind of mentality.
I work closely with a guy called Julien Bourrel, who is someone I admire a lot, and he does a lot of cross-cultural training, and he says that Norwegians need to sweat together to build connections or to have a common goal to achieve, do something together. And I really like this picture because for me it was, that's why I got new friends at the Dugnad in Barnehage. So first I was going like, do we need to? And I went home, I was like, this was so nice.
Yeah, the same feeling, it's community. But like, I think that also like Norwegians becomes extremely social in the forest. I think this phenomenon is fantastic. In the city, nobody look into your eyes, no matter what happened. But you go inside the forest, 1 millimeter, they are so nice and social. It's like very impressive. Every time that we are skiing, like we end up like talking to people, and it's they need a little bit of kind of nature around
Even
them.
the dogs are happier. Have you seen this? Some dogs look pretty depressed in Grünerløkka. You make them into Nordmarka, like.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
If you were to move to another country, not Norway, not Brazil, which country would it be?
France.
Oh my God.
I know.
Are you being polite or are you just like for real?
I really want to learn French. So I have been with this in the head of my back, in the back of my head, actually. I would love to explore your country.
Okay, cool.
Totally.
Have you been to France?
Yes.
Where have you been?
Paris and the island. What is the name of this?
Corsica?
Corsica. I spent 2 holidays there.
That's nice.
And,
very different part of the country, I guess.
Yeah. I think that like at some point I was like a little bit concerning of like, should I stay in Norway forever? This was like before getting married. Or should I just keep moving and learning a new language? French came into my mind, you know.
Oh.
But I would love to live in Australia too. I have lived there for a while. I love the system there. It's a little bit far away, but I love the Australian lifestyle. Like, you know, Indonesia, for sure I would leave. So many countries that I could leave. The world is so big, right? It feels a little bit kind of like I want to move. I like to move around. I have lived in 5 different countries already.
Wow. Impressive.
Mm.
And 5 very different. I mean, I've lived to 5 countries too, or 4 or 5. But it was like Germany, Switzerland, Norway. It's still Europe, right? Whereas you've been like USA, Brazil,
Australia,
Norway.
New Zealand.
Very different
Caribbean,
deals.
Spain.
Very different. You've been in Spain?
I lived in Spain.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Whereabout?
Mallorca, the
Oh.
best.
What were you doing there?
I was working in the yacht industry.
Mm.
Yeah, so I was based in Mallorca, but working for the, you know, private fancy yachts. Very fun times.
You must have a very interesting professional network, Larissa.
I know, all the marineros.
Okay, last questions. It's a nice questions. What any of us should remember when working with people from different cultures?
Keep your mind open and curious mindset. Just keep asking questions. People is going to be different, but they not necessarily are going to be bad. It's just different.
Is there any cliche Norwegians have about Brazil that are not necessarily true?
Yes. Norwegians believe that they are better than Brazilians in football because they have never been beat by Brazilians. They actually won a game that is no
in
Brazil.
France, in Marseille, in 1998.
I know.
This
but
is so random.
It's very funny because in Brazil, nobody knows it. Nobody
In France
remembers.
either.
But here, like, you know, like no matter, you know, where I come, like when I came to talk about Brazil in my kids' school in the 4th grade, the other kids like, did you know that Norway bet Brazil in football? So yeah, this is this big cliche. They have never bet Brazilians, and yeah, I think that they believe that they are better than Brazil because they won Brazil in the World Cup. But this is just a cliche, guys. This is not really 100% true. I think we didn't play enough together.
Okay, do you want to say a last sentence in Brazilian to our listeners before we say bye-bye?
Yes, I think that I would say Eu amo a Noruega. I love Norway in Portuguese.
That was very nice.
Yeah.
Tusen takk. Thank you so much.
Veldig hyggelig.
Thank you for coming. Bye bye.